Welcome to the Muscle Expert Podcast with Ben Pakulski, one of the world's top professional bodybuilders, an expert on human performance and mindset mastery. Ben dives deep to deliver the strategies of the top experts to upgrade your body, mind, muscle, strength, performance, biochemistry, and how to become the upgraded modern man.
What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the Muscle Expert Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Pakulski. We always frame this podcast around living your greatest life in your greatest body. Sleep, as you all know, is a huge contributing factor, possibly the greatest contributing factor, right? So if you're not getting enough activity during the day, you're not going to sleep. If you're getting too much light during the day, or they're not the right types of light, you're not going to sleep correctly or not sleep properly, and it's not going to be rejuvenating to your body. We've gotten to sleep really extensively recently with Dan Party on a podcast. If you haven't seen that one already, I suggest you go check it out. It's absolutely incredible and insightful. Today, we're going to dive deep on Oura. So Oura is the ring that I wear that measures my sleep, and everyone wants to know about it. Everyone wants to know how it works. Is it accurate? How did they come up with it? All these amazing questions. And really, is there any benefit to tracking your sleep? So we went right to the source. We went right to the CEO of the company. Harpreet Rai joins me right here in the studio today to talk about the Oura Ring. And you guys know I've been using the Oura Ring. This is now generation 2 of the Oura Ring. I've used generation 1. This one's have massive improvements. It actually looks pretty cool and tracks really, really interesting stuff from the type of sleep you're getting. So are you getting deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep? Are you being woken up? When do you fall asleep? Those things are very valuable if you're actually taking some means to progress and maybe change, right? So if you notice, hey, I'm not sleeping very well, I don't feel restful, knowing why is step one to changing it. So quantifying with the Oura is a super cool thing. It's also looking at heart rate variability. It's also looking at heart rate, body temperature, and activity during the day. And all those things are very, very interesting. And now we talk about why the ring may be actually more useful than using a watch, which most people are measuring through the wrist. Harpreet gets into some of the data as to why they chose the ring rather than a watch, rather than the wrist. And a lot of super interesting things. Plus, he's just a cool guy, and we have a great conversation. Very, very comfortable, not overly uptight. You guys will notice it's a really enjoyable conversation where we kind of poke fun at each other a little bit. We look directly at my data. Now, don't judge. It's my data. So do I sleep well? Sometimes. Do I exercise well? Sometimes. But here's the catch. I don't always wear my ring when I'm exercising. You guys can imagine if I'm doing really heavy lifts, probably not the best thing to be wearing a nice ring on your finger. So I take it off so not all my activity is tracked. But again, that's not why I wear the ring, right? I wear the ring to measure my sleep, which I do at least 5 out of 7 nights. Sometimes I forget to charge it or something and I don't wear it. But the cool thing about this ring is if you charge it once, it's good for 6 days. Super awesome. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy the show with Harpreet Rai. We have a really cool announcement this week. If you're not already following me on Instagram, BPAC Fitness on Instagram, head over and subscribe to the podcast because we got another awesome giveaway for you this week. How would you like a year's supply of MCT oil? So you guys know, or maybe you don't know, that recently I've aligned with a company called the MCT Co. And we're currently formulating some really awesome MCT products, starting with just powder and oil. It's 100% organic, sourced from coconut oil because palm oil is very, very bad. And most of the MCT on the market right now is actually sourced from palm oil, which is terrible for the environment, terrible for the orangutans and the chimps and the monkeys, etc. So we've decided to sustainably source, responsibly source from coconuts, 100% organic. And we're also working on some really other cool products like a bar and some other ingredients that are super, super cool. But we're going to hook you guys up, your supply, to one person who subscribes to the podcast and head over to Instagram right now and leave us a comment, tag one person, and we're going to pick one lucky winner. So last week's lucky winner of the Juve went out on last podcast. If you guys haven't heard that, we gave away a Juve Light, almost a $2,000 value on last week's podcast. And this week we're giving away 12-month supply of MCT oil. So head over and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll stop talking now. Enjoy the show with Harpreet Rai. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Muscle Expert Podcast. You guys want to know about the Oura Ring, so I went out and got the man himself, Harpreet Rai. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
Dude, welcome in, and I'm very excited to do the deep dive on the Oura because, I've been a huge fan, huge advocate because I love the idea of quantifying sleep. Sleep is such a massive part of health, of performance, of brain function, of all these things that we all are aspiring to have, man. And you guys are doing an awesome job of quantifying that for us, man. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And frankly, people like you doing an awesome job spreading the mission, right? And getting knowledge and information out there for people on not just sleep, but all these things they can be doing to improve their lives, right?
Yeah, I just see so much value, right? Like if I can quantify the fact that my sleep was 20% better yesterday, and because of something I did, that's valuable. And you know, I've talked about a lot of things on the podcast, like, hey, I did this and this happened. I'm very transparent about, like, I'm always trying to kind of hack my sleep, because historically as a bodybuilder, I was a terrible sleeper, man. I would go to bed at, you know, midnight, and I'd wake up at 4:30 or 5, and that's just kind of how I ran my life. And I didn't realize the value and necessity of getting, like, 1, enough sleep, 2, high quality sleep. I just didn't get it. And I just kind of thought, well, that's not how I work. But I realize now, like, I get 8 hours of sleep every night. I may wake up once, but usually I don't. And there's things I can do, and now I can quantify it. So this is a beautiful technology, man. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with Oura?
How did I get involved? So I would say...
So, letting the audience know, we had Piteri on, who's the founder. And you're now the CEO.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I got involved, I would say, first I had a fascination just with sleep and and performance, actually. Unlike you, I was a really poor athlete as a kid, but frankly, I had to probably work harder than most, right, to get there, right? And so I think part of that, same thing. I had no idea sleep had actually an impact on my athletic. You know, I played soccer. My big thing was
brain works.
Yeah,
imagine that.
But even just like the brain body, right? Like, oh wait, so you're telling me, like, you know, tired was like a thing you associated in your head, right?
Not coffee deficiency.
Yeah, it wasn't like my muscles were tired, right? It's like I can perform the next day, right? So I definitely sacrificed a lot of sleep as a kid, mainly because of video games, but you know, didn't really realize that link till later. It was when I was finally trying to run the Cooper test, you know, 2 miles, 12 minutes, and I remember like going and writing down my times, and I started to realize, like, wait, why on certain days, and I was running it, again, being stupid, just every day, because I was like, oh, yeah, you can run.
That's how you get better.
That's how you get better. You do the same thing every day, and I shouldn't change it up or whatnot. But I would start to notice this first correlation of, hey, wait, days that I had worse times, what was I doing the day before? I started to first think about, well, maybe it was food I ate. And it wasn't until like 6 or 7 weeks into that when I realized, like,
of running that every day,
that, oh shit, I wasn't sleeping, or I stayed up playing video games, and that actually impacted my physical. This is high school. This was pre-tequila, right? Like for me at least, but that changed in college for sure. But you know, it was like, okay, why did this get so bad? And so that was my first interest in sleep. I studied electrical engineering in high school, so the tech part made a ton of sense. 2 things I worked on in college, all related to sort of the intersection of health and tech. One was an accelerometer, you know, the thing that goes in these. And the other one was a neural probe. Both didn't work. So I decided because of that, partly because of that, to go into finance. I had a bunch of student debt after college. You know, I grew up in New Jersey and was like, I want to go work in New York City. And, you know, investment banks were paying double what, you know, like Intel would pay. But also ran into sleep issues. Started staying up every day till 2, 3 a.m. at least. Had trouble falling asleep even when I did get home on time from work. Put on like 40 pounds of fat, probably more than that because I lost muscle in the process. And that's one of my second link of like, oh shit, it wasn't just performance, but even just my body composition, right, with sleep I started to make that realization. I stayed on Wall Street. Luckily, I was able to go to a hedge fund, work on the investing side, but only invested in tech companies. And actually, after doing that for 10 years, you know, I was checking out different wearables because I worked on things like movement sensors as a kid, and frankly, like saw the first generation Oura Ring. I knew the advantages of some of the hardware that they had done, which we can get into, and ran into the co-founder, the other co-founder, Kari.
By accident.
By accident, Whole Foods. And that's how it happened. So I met them, hit it off.
That sounds like it's meant to be, man. Truthfully, right? Like, you don't run into somebody at Whole Foods by accident and go, hey, tell me about that shirt you're wearing.
Exactly. Actually, Sarah, my girlfriend who you met, she's the one who spotted him. I was like, we were in Whole Foods super late. He was in Whole Foods because he was jet lagged.
And the guy from Finland is in Whole Foods in New York.
In New York, right. Yeah. And he was only in New York for 2 nights.
Wow.
And I'd never been to that Whole Foods, by the way.
Wow.
It was a Whole Foods, like there was one, 2, it's New York City. There's one 2 blocks from my house. This one was 10 blocks. We happened to be out in Chelsea. And I was like, I need to go. I was doing keto. I was like, need to go get a bunch of protein and some almond butter before I go to bed because I hadn't ate dinner yet.
Who eats almond butter? Yeah. I talk about it on every podcast, I think.
So yeah, that's how I got involved. And look, we have an awesome team, awesome, founding team, great hardware and engineering team, but most of our customers are here in the US. And so I just started to help out, frankly, at first setting up podcasts, helping them even just find things like how do we put up a website. So just got involved and luckily hit it off and then joined as president. And then after, growing the company some more, both, I guess the board and the founding team said like, hey, we should probably build more of a team out here. So why don't you take over as CEO? And they actually probably wanted to do things that are more fun for them. So more on the tech, more on the innovation side, like, what's next. You're good at. Yeah. Like, let's focus on what we're good at.
Very cool, man. And, I've met many of the people at Oura now, and everybody's been fantastic, which is why I've been so eager to get behind the brand. And it's not just like, I'm trying to make some commission or something. Like, I couldn't care less. It's like, it's a great product. Pateri was amazing with describing the function and why they designed it and all the benefits of the ring. And I want to get more into that today because some of our listeners, as I told you, had a hard time understanding Pateri with this deep Finnish accent. I understood it, man. I grew up around that stuff, right? Yeah. But a lot of people are like, what was he saying? Is there subtitles?
Yeah. So you can handle a Canadian accent, so maybe it translates. I don't know.
No, I grew up around Eastern Europeans, right? Like,
okay.
Yeah, the neighborhood I grew up in was either Italian or Eastern European. Like, I understand European accents. People always think I'm crazy, but I can understand what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
Good listening skills too, right? Practice. So, man, what I want to get into is you talked about some of the wearable technology. Like, what is it about a ring that makes it so advantageous over, say, something like a watch?
Yeah, great question. And so, again, credit to our team, like the founding team who thought of this. Yeah. But basically, if I look at let's look at our hands, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we have video rolling here. So I have dark skin. I have more hair. Maybe actually probably same amount of arm hair as Ben. But
I'm working on my beard too, man. I'm coming for you.
Catching up. We'll tie a turban on you next. Take you to Temple with me one day. But so if you look at our wrist, right? My wrist, dark. Decent amount of hair. There's actually a decent amount of skin, cartilage, bone, tissue here.
Yep.
Right, and these are veins. Yep. Right. You flip the other side, like you were taught in grade school, you can see yours, right? You have much lower body fat than I do right now. We're going to work on that though.
Yep.
But you can actually feel my pulse, right? Yep. Or your pulse, like you're taught. So it turns out that these arteries have, anywhere from, call it, depending on which artery you look at, 5 to 10 times more blood flow than the vein on the other side, right? Human anatomy wise, right? You take those arteries, you go into your palm, they're super close to the skin. I mean, look at our fingers, right? They're red, skin. Right? Beautiful. They're, a lot of blood flow there. So it turns out that pulse signal, because those arteries are so close to the surface of your skin, is about 50 to 100 times stronger than that of your wrist. So it's like, that's where we can get the best signal. Let's start there, and there's definitely like any company when they start, like, dude, no one's ever done that. Like, all the sensors you buy off the shelf, are for a wrist, right? There's like people who are making these like Maxim integrated circuits, right? And this is the ecosystem that I knew, guys like AMS out in, in Switzerland, like there's ready-made components all built for the wrist. And so to do something on the finger was like, some of the team was like, well, this is the science side was like, this is the best signal, right? But then the hardware guys were like, you're crazy.
Right.
We can't fit that in there.
Small?
Yeah. And so that was the challenge. And turns out also not only is it the best signal, and we can get more into that, like how do we use that, but also it's the most comfortable to sleep with.
For sure.
So, put something on your wrist. No one really wears like a regular wristwatch.
I can feel it. Like I can feel the light into my wrist, which is weird, but like I don't know if everybody can, but I feel like I can, and I don't want that. And you're absolutely right. I don't want to wear it to sleep.
Yeah. We made some conscious decisions about that. So it was like, okay, let's fit it. You want to make it comfortable, but then even the light, right? We chose infrared, right? I think most common wearables are using green.
Yep.
But the problem when you sleep, like you said, like that green light is distracting. We actually know that it disturbs and hurts your sleep.
Yep.
So we chose infrared, something that we know is actually positive for the body.
So how do we turn a pulse into you're in deep sleep?
Sure, yeah. So that is a lot of data science and signal collecting. And again, things that happen during the stages of sleep. So if you go like read, if you were to go study some like, at Berkeley and take like one of Matthew Walker's like maybe undergrad courses, I'm just making this up. I don't know if he teaches this per se, but you'd be like, okay, what happens during sleep? Okay, well, during REM sleep, we know people are dreaming, right? We don't know necessarily why, but let's say we know they're dreaming. Yeah. What happens to their brain and their body? Well, it turns out, okay, their neural activity is actually firing in a range probably, north of 15 hertz, 30 hertz-ish, somewhere between that range, right? Okay, what else is happening? Your heart rate is generally a little bit more elevated. Your heart rate variability probably has a little bit more dynamics. Your respiratory rate is actually you're breathing almost like you would be during the day, right? It's like you're dreaming, so it's changing a lot. And we know you're generally for the most part not moving. Some people move during REM, but a very, very small amount of people. So then we can be like, okay, how do we back into those physiological signals, right? And then how do we test enough people to make sure that it's accurate and represents what's going on in the brain? Just being completely straightforward, if you wanted the best sleep tracking, you should wear like, a full, PSG setup with,
the
20 wires, whatever you want on your head. But no one's
then you can't sleep.
Then you can't sleep, and it's hard to travel with. And your girlfriend or who maybe your girlfriend to be might be like, "This, no way, this dude's a freak."
Yeah, exactly. You look like the Predator coming to bed.
Exactly. I don't want him strapping that to me. This is like Hannibal Lecter.
Right. That's a good look.
Yeah. So I think what we chose was, a ring for comfort, a ring for accuracy, and then we did a bunch of, sort of just like all the other wearables have done, look at the physiological changes that happen in sleep and tie those physiological changes. Mm-hmm. I think just, one thing that's important to know is that sleep science is still a new science. It's also like a very gray science in the sense that like if I were to go show like your PSG results with those 21 wires hooked up to you to two different doctors, the data that they would come up with would probably, I would say, agree 80 to 85% of the time. So a lot of time you're between sleep stages, right? Like your brain is actually in different, ranges, or does it look like it's in REM or light or deep?
Right. So you're trying to quantify a subjective thing. Like I don't know exactly where we are, but we think you're probably here.
Yeah, we think you're probably here. Yeah. Based on your staging, it looks like you're here.
Right.
So I would say any wearable is going to be less than that. So if the medical grade test has a 15% standard error, a wearable will be less than that.
Sure.
We believe we're at 70%. We hope to externally validate that. We did have a validation done on our Gen 1 ring, but we're going to do one on Gen 2. Yeah. I think what we have built our algorithm around was the use case we talked about before, precision, night overnight, so versus accuracy. And so that way it's like, well, if I drank this and let's say, thank God it's not, but let's say it was loaded with a bunch of caffeine, we're taping this at 5 o'clock, right? I want to be able to see I can't sleep or I have, very minimal deep sleep. And then I know not to drink this at 5 o'clock. Right. So we built our algorithm around that. So we do no post like processing filtering. Some of the other companies, some of the bigger companies out there will say, Ben, I don't know how old you are, but say you're 35, you're like me, right? Let's say, okay, he has a resting heart rate of, I think you had it up earlier, like 50, right? And okay, so, and his BMI is this, we generally know where he should be. Deep sleep, maybe he should be getting 45 minutes to an hour, right? But they will sort of focus their algorithms on that, fitting that norm, versus we want to focus our algorithms on showing that change night to night. So we built more around the precision. So whether you're 50 minutes, or truth is, let's say 20% different, 60 minutes, it's more about that change when you drink this thing at, 7 o'clock at night that has caffeine in it. So we've built our algorithms that way, so people get the most use out of it.
Very cool. And now substantiating the difference between, just getting a little bit deeper in that, like looking at the difference as to what might be happening in your body during deep. I'm going to guess your body, maybe your heart rate just drops a little bit. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So deep breathing slows down. Heart rate slows down. Also, heart rate variability, since it's in the first half of the night, actually tends to be a little bit lower, believe it or not, for most people. But so we'll look at those changes between breathing, again, probably compared to light, very minimal movement, and your heart rate dropping.
So you're checking movement with the infrared light. Is that what that does?
No, movement, we have an accelerometer in here.
Okay.
So we have an accelerometer and gyroscope. We also have temperature sensors, different things. Let's say like your body doesn't thermoregulate during certain stages of sleep as well. So you're, if you're breathing a lot and let's say like you are in REM sleep, your temperature probably changes a lot too. So, but yeah, deep we'll see slow breathing, slower breathing, right? Slower heart rate, right? And I would say almost like less variability. And then,
sorry, how are you quantifying breathing with a ring?
Very good question. So because the signal strength is so strong, we're shining it at 250 times a second. And so what that allows us to do is actually build out like a pulse waveform. I guess if we're on video, I could actually show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
People, we have not talked about this.
Is it on the app, or is it something you have separately?
It's a special version of the app.
I need that. Come on, man.
No, we haven't done that for anyone. And this is like not like something we demo a lot. We just use it for internal purposes.
And special privileges.
So yeah. All right. So here's my ring. So it's looking, if you look at this same thing, my pulse waveform right here, it's going to find that signal and boom. So now it's picking up this heart rate signal, right? And every once in a while you'll get some drift in the sensor. So that's what that was. And so based on the shape of actually that peak, right, we can see sort of when you breathe in versus when you don't.
Based on movement or based on what's happening in your artery?
In your artery. So what ends up happening is like basically when you breathe in, right, that heartbeat will be a little bit sharper and be a little bit higher.
Like take a big deep breath and see what happens.
It won't show it on this because we're not magnifying to the same level. And actually a drift just happened. So you're not going to be able to see it live, but we are making a mode where you will be able to see it live. So this isn't meant for that. This is just all raw data, but we're looking at all this stuff behind the scenes all the time. And so based on that peak, like I can even draw.
So technically everyone is being monitored for that. We just don't get to see it.
Correct. Yeah.
Shady Harpreet.
No, that's not. No.
I'm just kidding, man.
By the way, we can't even store that because that's so much data. That's 250 data points per second, right? You can't fit that kind of memory in the ring.
Right.
But what ends up happening is basically on that pulse waveform, you'll see that all of a sudden the amplitudes will change based on when you're breathing in. And so you start to like recognize those patterns. And what do? You test against it, strap people up, look at their data overnight versus polysomnography. And then you can start to see, okay, yeah, it looks like we've fine-tuned this algorithm. So it looks like that this is when they're breathing in. So that's, because we're shining at such a high fidelity versus the other wearables. So wrist-based wearables, because they use so much more power to get that signal, right? They actually are normally using anywhere from 1 hertz, so 1 times a second. They're shining a light to call it like 12 to 20 hertz.
And this is 200, you said?
And we're at 250.
250.
Yeah. So because we don't need as much power because that signal is so much stronger. So because that, we actually are looking at that pulse waveform the whole night. No other wearable device does that. And because of that, we're able to pick out sort of those peaks and troughs.
So what are you trying to extrapolate from that?
Well, that's respiratory rate. So you asked how we do breathing.
Right.
That's how we do breathing. Sorry for the long answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is there anything else we can extrapolate as far as useful data, just other than like, hey,
breathing less? So we're starting to look in. There's so many medical use cases for that pulse waveform data. So we're working with some guys. Places like UCSF has done a bunch of work. So we're starting to talk to them and a bunch of other researchers. Things in the pulse waveform data, AFib. We know that these are things that other wearables have worked on, and obviously we're exploring it too. But also there's things that we can find from apnea, things that we can probably find from hypertension and from diabetes. So I think UCSF and Apple had done some good work out there that's public, and I think like we're trying to find the right partners to do more of that too. So
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Sounds like valuable info. Do you think in the future you guys are going toward being able to store that data and actually use it?
Yeah. So we store certain components of the wave.
Right.
You can't, because of the memory limitations, store that whole wave. We are creating versions where you could store more of it. Cool. And at least maybe do it like I just did it, transmit it. So like for researchers that are doing some of the stuff, can I just transmit it overnight? Or
I think the biohacking geeks in us would all be like, hey man, I want to see what happens if it's real time, and I can see like, hey, what actually happens to if I do this or if I do that, or during training, and see what we can do to manipulate things. But
that clarity of that wave where you could clearly see my heartbeat, if you looked at other wearables because the signal's weak, you wouldn't be able to see that full waveform. So if you imagine, if I took that wave and showed you, call it 1/10 of the data, right? Or 1/20th of the data. You would just be like, oh, that's a peak. But they wouldn't know sort of how high is that peak versus the other peak, right? What was the, let's say even timestamp between each peak. So I think that's the advantage we have, is that granular pulse waveform.
Hey, I interrupt this podcast to bring you another message from MCT Co. We're hooking you guys up. So on top of giving away a year's supply of MCT to one lucky winner, we're also going to be hooking you guys up with a buy one, get one free deal. But you got to do it now. You got to do it fast because it's not going to last forever. If you go to mctco.com right now, you can enter the code BENBOGO, Ben B-O-G-O, buy one, get one, BENBOGO, and get 1 free bottle of MCT oil. When you purchase 1, you can order 5 and get 5 free ones if that's how you want to roll, because we're hooking you guys up and it's not going to last forever. That's an incredible deal. Head over there now. I use MCT every day in my coffee. I use it on my salads. If anyone's already in ketosis or wants to be in ketosis, MCT oil is one of the absolute best ways to do it. Our MCT is about 2/3 C8. So if you know anything about C8, that's going to be the best one for brain performance. We're about 33% C10, which is suggested to be the best for neural inflammation, so brain inflammation and brain fog. So we did a nice combination of the two because both of them have incredible benefits. Head over to mctco.com and use the code BENBOGO. Enjoy the rest of the show with Harpreet Rai. We've done a lot of podcasts on sleep, man. I'm fascinated with sleep. We had Dan Party on just recently.
Oh, nice. No way. When was he on?
Just recently, last week.
Oh, no way. He was down here?
No. We actually did it remotely.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, he's the second time I've had him on. He's just so fascinating.
I love Dan.
Such an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're doing a lot of podcasts on helping people hack their sleep and, giving them action items to make it better. And Dan did an incredible job of kind of demystifying deep sleep and starting to understand the importance of all the levels of sleep and how certain hacks can impact deep sleep but may take away REM or light sleep. And so you did a really good job with that. So I want to stay more on having you validate the value of this stuff to people, validate just the implications of the ring versus say one of the wearables, and also want to get into HRV because as I say to every one of my coaches, this is my new fascination. If we can learn to have really accurate measures and quantifications of HRV and be able to hack that on a real-time basis, that's extremely valuable. So let's talk about HRV and how you guys are. Obviously it's pretty simple how you're measuring, but if you want to tell us about that.
HRV in terms of I would say the importance of it, and your listeners probably know, but probably I would say within our users that probably are focused on athletics, right? That they are using that as a measure to hey, am I overtrained, undertrained, right? What kind of workout should I be doing this day? If I have pretty good HRV, maybe it's a good day to go for a PR.
And it's so much more than that.
Though. I don't
want people just to disregard it as someone. If you're not an athlete, it's not going to work. It's so much
more valuable. Yeah. I mean, look, HRV, parasympathetic, versus sympathetic stress of the body. So I don't know if you've talked about that before on the podcast or not. But to me, even just my own personal self, why it's important, and we can get into the validation side is hey, am I going to make a good decision today or a bad decision today?
Dude, that's exactly right.
Right?
Yeah. Can I actually use my brain and think through all the possibilities here, or is it going to be some reactive response?
And I use that for training, right? If I'm when you're pushing sets and reps, right, and pushing a lot of weight around, that's dangerous, right?
In business.
And in business too, right? But should I actually make a decision to push myself an extra step or not?
Right.
Probably not if I know I'm not the best person I can be today. Right. So I think that's at least how I use it. That's how we're seeing our users use it.
Brain function, man, coming down into an alpha state where I can be creative and focused and think my way through problems. And it's almost like the world slows down. When I have high HRV, it's just a completely different world, man. It's you can think, you can respond rather than react. And if I see high HRV numbers, I'm a really happy person in the morning. If I sleep well and I know I've had great deep sleep, things just go better. You're putting up better energy to the world. Your energy's better.
You're calmer.
Yeah.
Right. To your point, it slows down. If it slows down, you feel like you're a little bit more in control, right? Which makes you overall calmer. You can think through things probably clearly, right, without having 100 things distract you, right? And I think you can be more present as well. That's how I find myself, and making business decisions and fitness decisions.
He's got my Oura data on the computer here, so we're gonna rip through this.
Nice.
So you can analyze my stuff. Now I don't have that many days on there, man. So tell me about this. So some days I don't sync it to the app.
Yeah.
Does the data still exist and still get uploaded?
Yeah, we store that HRV data for 6 weeks.
Okay.
If you don't sync it.
So very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm very curious about that. So there's going to be a bunch of days in there So there's my sleep from last night. I was a bit of a failure last night.
Nah, what is 85? You got a crown, so that's not bad. That's what that little crown means, by the way.
Okay. So is there like multiple crowns, or what am I aiming for?
No, that sleep score. If you get above 85, we give people crowns. So
how about if I get under 85?
Nothing.
Just nothing.
Yeah, we'll start.
That means I'm a king today.
Yeah, you're a king, man. Rock it.
All right. So 85. I mean, that's okay. But 6.5 hours sleep. I know. I can tell you. Was that last night? Yeah, last night was a terrible sleep. I was up a lot. I cheated yesterday. I didn't get outside, and I didn't get a lot of sunshine yesterday. Yeah. So it was not a good day. And I told you, man, I went to sleep last night. I felt great, and then I was up a lot.
You were up a lot.
Trev, can you click through that? Oh, there we go.
Oh, nice. We have it wired up here.
So we're
still giving you some good credit.
Look at that sleep time. Yeah,
we're too nice. Yeah.
I don't know how I sleep. I don't know if I fell asleep. I think I laid down to read at 8:49.
Got it. It'll show. I think it'll show some latency.
Yeah, because I didn't move.
Oh, but you're up. Damn, yeah, you're up at 4:20. You weren't kidding. You're up earlier than I am.
Total sleep was low. Efficiency was good. One wake up. I would say more than that. Let's see where the wake up was.
REM sleep.
Look at that big wake up right there. Right? So like 1:30, I was up for like almost probably half an hour.
Half an hour, yeah. But I mean, look, overall, this looks to me pretty damn solid. So the reason you got a decent score is like look at your REM sleep and look at your deep sleep.
Yeah.
And your latency wasn't that long, right? You fell asleep. It looks like at 9:10.
How are you able to be so accurate? Like I'm very curious. Like how can we differentiate between? How do we know exactly when I fell asleep?
Sure. That is a complicated question. Our chief scientist would be able to answer that better than me. But one thing we look at is we do have temperature sensors on here.
So immediate temperature change, immediate heart rate drop kind of thing.
And respiratory. So it's all those physiological signals we see. I mean, temperature is really interesting when it comes to sleep because, as you know, when melatonin's released, right, your core is actually trying to cool.
Yeah.
So if your core is trying to cool, heat's getting released through, your extremities, right? Your fingers, toes, and your head.
Right.
Right. And so when you sleep, we see that temperature change. Even before we start to see it, but it gets more significant. So that's one of the things we use. Then we use, again, a combination of the physiological signals. So do you stop moving? Right. So we look at sort of movements in all direction, X, Y, Z. And then the gyroscope even has 6 more axes of direction.
What's a gyroscope?
A gyroscope is like it's a movement sensor, just like an accelerometer.
So differentiate between those.
Oh, more axes.
Okay.
Accelerometers are typically 3. Gyroscope will be 6 to 9.
Okay.
So yeah, you can get X, Y, Z, and then all the other planes.
So this isn't tracking like steps per day though.
It is. You derive we do that in the activity count, but you use accelerometers to drive that as well. So based on. So it's all. But when you're falling asleep, we'll see. Okay, movement slows down. Respiratory rate slows down, heart rate slows down, temperature increases a bit. Technically, core is decreasing, but we see the temperature increase on your finger.
So 36%.
We don't get to see the passcode. Man, they blocked it off. Apple's smart. Yeah.
36% deep REM sleep.
Yeah.
According to Dan, that would be spectacular.
That would be high. That's spectacular. Yeah.
So I'm almost off the charts there.
I would say.
How much is, it's like relative to that bar. It's
sure.
Like,
so, I know some of the stats, and we will start releasing some of the stats publicly. So, how old are you?
37.
37. So, yeah, I would say above 2 hours, you're probably in, that's a 85 to 90% night. You're in the top 15, call it percent with getting above 2 hours of REM sleep. And you're right around there, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Deep sleep, that's solid. Hour and a half. I would say, again, that's probably for your age group, probably top 20%, maybe top 30 or 20%. So you're up there. We do find with athletes, by the way, they tend to get more deep sleep than people who aren't as physical. So I've seen NFL players get 3 to 4 hours of deep sleep.
Really?
Yeah. Not as much REM.
Their brain needs it.
Your body adjusts, right? Your brain is smart enough to realize okay, what happens in deep sleep? Muscle repair, testosterone release, right? So if you're
just cleansing all of that oxidative stress, right?
Totally, yeah. So versus REM, more, let's say, call it memory consolidation, right? More learning, right?
Athletes don't do much learning. We do more oxidative stress.
Well, it's more, you do both, right? Yeah. But it's which one does your body need more of? So, but no, you're like I said, you got above an 85 last night, so you're a solid sleeper, even though it feels bad for you. That just means you're an overachiever.
I was up for a long time.
Yeah, you know you're an overachiever though, so that's all right.
So now we're looking at my resting heart rate. Now that looks like a pretty good.
That's a pretty good
variability. Can you click on that?
That one you can't. The HRVs, and if you click the readiness tab, you'll see the HRV in that one.
Anything else down there?
So if you scroll to the bottom, your HRV was that's a little bit lower. Did you train? Did you train last night or yesterday? No.
I took the day off.
Do you mind if I swipe here a day or two? Let's see here. So interesting. Yeah. Your HRV on yesterday. What day is today? Today is Tuesday. So something you did on your HRV was almost double that day versus, Monday night, So it could just be a case of the work week setting in.
What am I looking at?
Just your average HRV
was
29.
29 if I go back.
Yeah. And 38, so not 50% difference, I guess. 40 versus 30.
43.
Yeah.
What did I do there? That one. Okay.
So it looks like your averages are probably around, call it 35 to
I remember
40.
having some pretty substantial. Well, let's see if we got some big ones.
Oh, your maxes are really high, which is good.
Okay, so tell me how to read that. So for an average person looking at this app, what do these numbers mean?
I would look at your average HRV. We tend to focus on that more internally as a company. A lot of this data, by the way, has not been collected before. Because if you think about it, most people take HRV just first thing in the morning.
Right.
So not many companies have had, millions of nights of data with HRV throughout the whole night. But what we have found is actually overall your average HRV is more indicative of how you feel, how you perform the next day, right? That's sympathetic versus parasympathetic stress.
Right.
So I would say you're actually average, if not a little bit below average for your age. So average people, I would say between...
My training has been next to nil lately.
Next to nil.
Yeah.
But by the way, that actually might be why.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So what we find is people actually, a lot of times when they train, they might actually see an increase in HRV, especially after a day or two, right? So that could be a sign for you to get back in. But, at the same time, too, it's like... I will say, like, you might go for a super hard workout one day, and then your HRV
goes down.
It goes down because you need to super compensate. Your body will come back a day or two. But I would say most people are using that HRV number and trying to adjust their training off of that, or they're using it for other things like, hey, your HRV is a little bit lower today. Maybe there's some type of stress going on. It might be a good day to meditate.
Is there an ideal range, or can you tell me about, like, is it just kind of based on my averages where I am relative to myself, or should I be looking at averages for an age group?
So we, philosophically as a company, the reason we haven't put it out for an age group, and again, we will start to do this because so many users have asked, is because it's sort of like lifting weights.
Yeah.
Like, how much should I be able to bench press?
Sure.
More.
All of the weight.
Right, all of the weight, right? Like, whatever I'm doing, I want to be able to do more.
Right.
So how high should your average HRV be?
Yeah.
Higher. Right. And so let's, it's like you walk in the weight room for the first time. If you look at everyone else, you'll never come back. Right? Focus on yourself, right? Like, so you're walking into looking at your HRV for the first time. Right? Okay, let's go ahead and figure out, what are the things that make it higher? What are the things that make it lower? Maybe for you, I'm just making this up. If you haven't been to the gym in a while, let's get you back to training again. Yeah. Find out that it actually de-stresses you, right? Actually increases the HRV. And now you'll know that, hey, actually 30 for me is low. 50 for me, my average might be high, right? And like, I want to start to shoot for 40s.
What are
and 50s.
high-end numbers?
Dude, some of the Tour de France athletes, man, we had a couple guys on Tour de France wearing the rings. They were clocking above 100 on average.
Right. So I remember, I don't know if it was with this ring or the previous ring, like I was usually up between 78 and 90.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I was with this one. I mean, I'm definitely not training the way I used to.
Yeah.
I think it was just earlier in the year. I don't know how far back this goes. You said it goes back 6 months. We can.
No, that's just data. It stores on the ring if you don't sync it. But if you have old data, we'll be able to pull it from the cloud or even go back in here.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We don't have to bore the audience with this stuff now. But I was just very curious to have, walking through the app. It's a very aesthetically pleasing app, man. You guys did a really good job. It's very easy to navigate, which is a big problem, right? So some of these apps that you go on, I go on once and I'll never go back.
Yeah.
I actually I'm curious to wake up every morning and check my Oura data.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we did win an award for the app design, a Red Dot Award. Yeah.
Were you involved in that?
No. Like, meaning our developers made the app. They're awesome. And like the Red Dot is an independent design committee. And so, they chose us of having a really good looking app. So
That matters, man.
Yeah,
it really does, because the ring is awesome.
Yeah,
but without the data and without the accessibility, I think the old app was actually pretty good too.
Yeah,
you recently updated it.
Yeah.
Why did you change the ring?
So we changed the ring to be smaller, man. For I would say, what we found from talking to most people who did not buy the ring was that it was too big. So I would say a lot of people, the feedback was, I would buy that if it looked like a regular ring. Mm-hmm. We also just found that some people, probably 15% of people, felt like the old ring, even after they bought it, was a little bit uncomfortable. Like it would get caught. Yeah, it would get caught on doors. Like if they're walking out, their hand would just...
Totally. Mine broke.
Yeah, yours broke. Yeah. We did switch to titanium because that way the break rates, we did about have 1% of the rings that broke on Gen 1. So those, now we don't have any that are broken because it's titanium. I think it's just like one of those things, like when you want to, there is a tech part of you that's like smaller, better, longer battery life. Right. And so I guess, we fell victim to that a bit, but we're finding a lot of people like it.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Thanks.
And it looks cool.
Yeah.
Other than, like, it looks like I'm kind of wearing a wedding ring, but...
you can wear it on your right hand.
Sure, yeah. But then I heard that means something else. Just kidding. So one thing I want to talk about, man, when I ordered this ring, you guys announced you're coming out with Gen 2. You're like, all right, everybody can buy it. There's limited time. Yeah. Everybody go out and buy it. And then there's a long waiting period. I want to acknowledge that because some of the listeners were pissed.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So look, first of all, apologize for any of the people here that have, ordered the ring. A lot of it is, I think, when you're a small hardware company, like you don't know how much demand you're going to get.
You're not the one actually making the ring.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you have partners, right? You have supply chain partners. You have contract manufacturers you work with. You plan for a certain amount of volume. And then when that volume totally exceeds it, it's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. And we apologize to our customers. It's something we've been working on fixing. We have ramped up our production quite a bit. So that, luckily now it's about an 8 to 9 week delay, and we'll keep getting that down as it's come down. But yeah, it's something that we just had no idea. We were basing it off what we saw from Generation 1. And when we made estimates that like, hey, we should have this much more, production, we were like, we're being aggressive. We're not sure if that many more people are going to like it because it's smaller and the longer battery life, but a lot of people did. So it's a problem, and we've done a lot to address it. But yeah, totally apologize for those who had to go through the wait.
It's totally worth it. Like, when we get it, I didn't know it was coming, and I was like, I got a ring shirt.
Get excited.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the future for the Oura Ring?
I think a lot of the future is, frankly, what we were talking about today. How to use the data. So how can we be more personalized? How can we give coaches access to this data? How can they use this data with their clients, right? How can people use the data themselves depending on what their goals are? I would say one thing I like to think about too is like, I don't want to just give you a better night of sleep. I want to give you a better life. And so for some people, their goals might be, I want to be able to deadlift 3 times my body weight. I think I was telling you, like, I've never been able to squat twice my body weight. It sucks, right? Maybe that's a goal for me. All right, how do we use sleep, deep sleep and HRV to make you hit that, right? And so I think helping people understand the data in the app is something we're going to focus a lot on. I do think the medical side is really interesting. Maybe for different types of communities, maybe not for people who are already in pretty good shape and working out a lot, but there's a lot of people who aren't. And a lot of people that have serious conditions, right? So people that have autoimmune diseases, people that have Lyme disease, right? People that have some type of chronic disease, like their HRV, just to let you know, is normally below 15, right? So they feel like crap every day. How do we actually help empower those type of people?
Right.
So I think a lot of it's going to come more in the app, more in the data side, understanding that data, who you are, what your goals are. We will be doing a meditation mode.
Cool.
So that is actually pretty cool. I think HRV is a cool use case there. Yeah. We do know when you go into parasympathetic and have deeper meditations, your HRV actually increases.
Right.
So being able to provide people that information, we think will make meditation a little bit more addictive.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Like even myself, we have an internal version, which I can't show yet, that like we've been toying around with. And we just found that people are meditating more because they're like, oh, I want to be able to I can see my data and it reminds me.
So what is it giving me? What is it giving you as far as?
Sure. So we'll give you HRV throughout the session, and we're looking at respiratory rate as well. So being able to show hey, you actually slow down your breathing and your HRV increased, so you went parasympathetic.
Right.
And then even just the nudges. So if you had worse HRV last night, hey man, today's probably a good day for you to meditate today. Right. That'll probably actually, you are going to go to the gym no matter what, let's say, that'll actually help improve your workout. Right. So I think it's just something that we want to make that we know people already do. A lot of our users meditate. A lot of our users are pretty self-aware. And so this is just another feature we think that'll make their meditations better over time. Yeah. And also hopefully urge them to meditate more.
I use the Oura. Well, now I'm going to use the Oura app thanks to you, the API, in my coaching platform. I use it with all my coaching clients. And the thing that I love about it, and I was a little worried about this, is this concept of if I get a bad score, am I going to potentially now down-regulate myself because my Oura Ring said I slept like crap, so now my brain says I should feel like crap. And I don't feel it does that. Like, I feel like you guys do a really good job of not overselling how poor people have slept.
We gave you positive commentary last night.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, it's like, so, I got my crown last night. I feel good, and all of a sudden I get a positive reinforcement. I get the dopamine hit, right? So I was a little concerned with that because, like, I know a lot of people are going to be impacted by the external awareness of like, hey, I didn't sleep well last night. I didn't get any deep sleep, so therefore, I need 6 cups of coffee today just to get through. But you guys don't oversell the poor sleep.
Yeah, and honestly, that's been like a decision by the company to share the information that way. Yeah. When we do give you textual feedbacks, and frankly, even for like the age comparison, where should you be? Like I said, if I had to look at your data again, I don't have everyone's data in front of me, but like 35, your HRVs call it on average 35 to 40. I would say the average for you is probably like 50. Are you that far off? No, you had a couple nights that hit it, right? Sure. But like at the same time, we don't want to penalize you every day, you coming in, because then you feel like crap.
You're a terrible person.
Yeah, like that's been a pretty conscious decision. Right. And again, we will start to share more of that information so people know like where they do relatively stand up, but don't get reminded every day of it.
So for me, with the being wintertime now, the sun going down at like 5:30. Normally, like I would work all day. I get my workout in the morning. Yeah. I work all day, and then I'd have dinner with my family, and I'd go out for a couple-hour walk. Yeah. That's when my HRV was amazing because I would get that extra activity, that parasympathetic activity after I eat. Now it's like go home and look at some blue light or something, right? Or like be inside. We read books or whatever, but.
Are you eating a little bit later too, or no?
No, 6 o'clock.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But just the idea of like, for the longest time all summer, we're outside walking for at least 60 minutes, usually 2 hours. Yeah. And the HRV was amazing, right? You're getting that cardiovascular activity and feeling amazing and getting the connection with the sun and the family and like everything positive in the world. Then all of a sudden your heart rate variability is amazing. Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention, because you asked it and I didn't answer it, as far as accuracy, we talked about sleep staging being roughly 70%, and that's best in class wearables. Our HR and HRV data is actually at 99% compared to an EKG. Right. So we did have that actually published in an abstract by Sleep Medical Journal, and we will get a full paper actually published later on. We were hoping by the end of this year, but it looks like early next year. So that's something, again, because that pulse waveform, like we can see that data so clearly on your heart rate. So the HRV data, the space between each beat is really damn good.
We got to throw this one out there, man. Just look. Wait, Trev, can you unlock that screen?
Yeah. Oh, you got the Apple TV synced up? Yeah.
No, don't judge me on this, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is today?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a good day.
Man. What? But you were saying you're not working out a ton.
Is this today or is this? Yeah, it's today. So 8 hours and 22 minutes of inactivity. Really?
Damn.
Yeah. I guess they wouldn't count yoga as activity, right?
Probably.
But they probably wouldn't count. Would they count like a workout as activity? Like, because I'm not getting steps, right?
Yeah, you won't be getting steps, but we'll actually see movement. So I think yoga should be counted as some activity depending on like how slow the yoga is.
Pretty slow.
Okay.
But it's very, deep methodical, long breaths.
We did actually integrate with HealthKit, by the way.
I don't know what that is. But at least my recovery time is optimal. So if you guys are watching this, you're not watching this on YouTube. I have a lot of red on my daily activity from today.
Are you sitting at a desk most of the day?
Yeah, man. I've been doing my writing and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been doing podcasts and stuff. Actually, today I didn't sit that much. I think I only sat for maybe 30 minutes today.
I'm going to pull mine up. So what am I? I'm not.
You got to show me up like that.
No, I'm not. Well, today.
Look at that one, because you guys walking. Where'd you walk?
Well, I walked a bunch, but I also worked out this morning.
So I worked out and didn't show.
So here,
I don't know if I took it off.
Actually, this is an overstatement for me. So, but it'll actually say I did strength training. I burned 891 calories. That's actually way more than I did. But we are starting to import that data with HealthKit. So if some people are using apps for yoga, we'll start to pull that in. So the activity data will keep getting better.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm an underachiever today, man. I gotta be honest. But I'll get my workout in this afternoon.
Cool.
And well, this evening now.
Yeah.
And probably go for a walk after dinner. Like I'm always getting something. Just usually way too much sitting. I'm writing a book, man. I'm writing a lot of content for the website. So sitting on my butt too much.
Well, I mean, I'm just curious. We were talking a bit before. How do you like? What is your right now? You're saying you do what? 1 of 3 things. You'll either walk, yoga, or workout.
Yeah. Sometimes I do both, but the last 2 weeks or so has been much less.
Yeah.
Just because it's been busy.
It's
busy couple of weeks.
I mean, that's the hard thing about running a business, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure a lot of listeners too, right? Just, we want to be good at everything we do, right? We want to be good when we're in the gym, but we also want to be good when we're out. So sometimes, one side's winning, the other side's losing. It sort of feels like that, but that's what keeps life interesting, right?
Yeah, and I always know how to go back there. Like I actually, for some reason, I enjoy pushing hard in a lot of things, but I realize that if I'm pushing hard when I'm training, my business suffers.
Yeah.
So I have to balance. If I push too hard, like you talk about decision making, if I work out the way I work out, everything goes out the window because I'm gassed, man. Especially if I'm training like hard.
Yeah.
Like my brain doesn't work the same. So if I need to write, I'll usually intentionally like do a yoga session or do a walk because I'm not eating enough to recover from those workouts.
Yeah.
And my brain's just like, man, I'm gassed.
So. But there is a point, like, and this is where we do want to bring the app to. So right now, like if you think about it, why is sleep important for you? Sleep's actually probably not that important for working out for you right now because that's lower on the totem pole.
No.
But managing a business, writing a book, right? So the creativity side, like no offense, like
and making me a better person.
Your REM sleep, like your brain's probably listening.
Right.
Your REM sleep's off the charts. What do we know about REM sleep? Okay, creativity, right? It's been shown in many medical studies that actually memory consolidation and creativity, right? If you think about that in the correlation to REM sleep, that's super important. So that's more important to you in your life right now. And so we should be highlighting that. So I think that's where we want to start bringing the app to, like what's important for you, Ben, right now, right? And then, okay, how do we bring those attributes of sleep to you, right? So for me, let's say, I would say right now, probably not getting good REM or good deep, right? Just, managing a business that's growing. But I do want to start getting back in shape. And I just started, as you saw on my app, starting to go to the gym again and probably going a little too hard just because I've been there.
So was it a weight workout? Was it a cardio workout or both?
Today was both. Yeah. But again, neither was great, but it's still better than anything.
Sure.
But so for me, I'm paying attention to my deep sleep and my HRV right now because I'm like, okay, finally getting back to the gym after not hitting it really consistently for probably 2 years. I want to start getting consistent, start at 3 times a week. And I'm looking at my HRV data to start eventually up to 4 to 5. But there might be a point, I'm pretty sure it's going to come again in 3 or 6 months where the business is like, screw that, right? Like the business is what matters more, right? Let's go ahead and actually, you've got back to maybe a little bit where you used to be. Now let's go focus on creativity, coming up with cool things we can do in the app.
Yeah, man, right? It's the idea of the seasons, right? There's always winter, there's always spring, and
waves.
I think we're meant to live that way, and I feel great about that. Like for a long time, for 15 years, it was always spring and summer, man. You're always training twice a day, every day, and I've talked about this in the podcast before. I've actually tested my telomeres right when I retired from bodybuilding. I had telomeres of a 51-year-old.
Whoa!
So I was like, all right, I got to do something about this. So I got to back off from the training substantially. I got to improve my sleep because I told you I was a 5-hour sleeper.
Yeah. And
I've brought it down, so now I'm 39.
Okay.
That was like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's a big improvement. So
pretty damn close to your age.
Yeah. And I'm still going the other way, man. I'm still I figured that with some fasting and some ketogenic programs and some other like supplemental programs, just keep reversing those telomeres. I think I don't know how accurate it is, but some data says it's actually got some decent accuracy.
We're pretty curious as a company to actually start getting some of that data, telomere data, genetic data, right, blood data alongside sleep data. Because sure, you can get your telomeres tested, but you might only do that test once every few years. What if we start looking at your sleep over, let's say, a year and be like, actually, Ben, looks like your deep sleep's down a bunch or your overall sleep quality's down a bunch. What's going on with your life? Maybe, hey, let's go get blood test done. Let's go get, telomere test done again, and just to see where you're at. So if you think about sort of that longevity of data, like these cycles that we go through in life, these waves, right?
What I think would be impactful for you guys is looking at chronotype, looking at like giving people like, hey, this is your genetic data. This is your chronotype. You should potentially go to sleep at this time, wake up at this time. I think people would be likely to oblige some people.
Yeah, so it's funny. We started that briefly in the app. So to me, it's telling me tonight aim to go bed a bit earlier, right?
Sure.
Between 10:30 and 11:30. Last night you went to bed at 11:38.
Right.
A little bit of a scold, not too much of a scold, hopefully.
Right.
But I think what we want to start showing you is like after that, the next step. Hey, when you went to bed before, in your case, like 9:30. Right, your deep sleep.
So like a daily prediction, and this is just my brain, but a daily prediction for me wouldn't, or a daily suggestion for me wouldn't be as impactful for me as like, hey, this is where you should be every day.
Every day.
Aim for this every day.
Yeah.
Because like that, I mean, everyone knows, and every listener should know by now that the ideal scenario is you're going to bed at the same time every day, you're waking up at the same time every day.
Yeah, the consistency.
Yeah. So letting your body get used to that. Like I wake up at, like I said, between 4:20 and 4:27 every day without fail, without an alarm.
Yeah.
Just because that's what my body.
So what should we call it? So the interesting thing about chronotypes is like you're like an early waker, right? So I think Michael Bruce has obviously written a book on this.
Right.
But let's say like if we were to make some chronotypes just right now, what should we call them? What would you make like a?
Well, the current, what the names are currently, right? They have like the lion,
the bear, the dolphin,
sure.
Lion, bear, dolphin.
I definitely don't want to be a dolphin.
Yeah. So what should we do? What would make it fun for our users? We were talking about this, like how do we build more of a community? We'll start making shirts, right?
So someone who wakes up, are you an early riser? You're late,
normally I'm an early riser. I'm on the East Coast right now, but on the West Coast I am. Yeah.
So what are we? We are.
So you would classify us as lions.
Yeah.
Right. We're up. We're up early. Right. We're going after it. But I'm trying to think of something more fun, something like aside just from like a simple animal.
I'm not good on the spot, man. I have to think about that.
All right. It's homework for us.
Yeah. I'm going to design the shirt for you.
All right. Sweet.
I'm not very good at that. You definitely don't want me to do that. You've been waiting a while.
You know what? I think so. One, I don't know if animals are the right thing, but maybe I was even thinking like, I don't know. Yeah. Some type of like, maybe a hybrid of an animal. I don't know.
Like a liger.
I think the listeners need to send in some suggestions.
Yeah, we need some listener suggestions on this. But yeah,
absolutely.
I do think you're right. That's probably a better way to present the data because you're not going to do it every night, right? Of going to bed at exact same time. We know that from our data. Mm-hmm. We see that on so many people. Most people aren't that consistent. But
how much do you look at the data? That's an interesting thing. You guys sit back there and go, look at this, degenerate.
So,
and can you actually pull data by name? Can you actually go and look up my data?
No. So we're a GDPR compliant company.
So you're not looking at Beck's?
No, we can only look at Beck's data if Beck says, hey, please look at my data.
Okay.
So we can do that. But otherwise, we can, using unidentified, so not names, just like user, I forget, like ABCD Z160 or something.
Sure.
Right? Oh, that guy.
What a bum.
Or like that guy. Holy shit, he got 4 hours of deep sleep last night.
So I'm going to Vegas next week. I don't want you pulling my data.
So I do have the team platform. True story. I have a good friend he does have some insomnia. And so he asked me, he's like, hey, a lot of people ask me, hey, you look at a lot of people's data, look at my data too. And so I have this like friends and family group on the Oura platform. And so, he went to Vegas and I didn't know he went to Vegas. I had no idea.
Why were you sleeping at 3 a.m?
No, it wasn't even that. I just looked at his resting heart rate was above 100.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit, he's going to have a heart attack.
Right.
And immediately just called him like, yo, are you okay? And he was like, why? What's wrong? Like, and I was like, did you? I was like,
I'm peeping on you.
Yeah, no, and he asked me too, right? So, I have friends who are my coaches and other aspects of life too. And so I was like, dude, he was like, man, I probably had like 6 Red Bull vodkas. He was in Vegas for a bachelor party. And I was like, all right, cool. But I was like, dude, that's a lot. So he's off the Red Bull today. Just do the vodka if you're going to stick there another day.
Right, exactly. But, straight vodka only.
Yeah, no, some interesting things we found from our data. Definitely one of the interesting things is weekends. And so if you think about it, most people will stick to a pretty good schedule during the week.
Sure.
Right? But then the weekend, it's like, I'll, sleep 3 hours longer and get caught up.
Right.
So, getting back to circadian rhythms, right? Like all of a sudden, okay, now your body's like, wait, I'm starting my whole clock 3 hours later this day on Saturday and Sunday. So like I normally eat food at this time, so I'm used to releasing these types of hormones at that time. So all of a sudden you're like, nah, let me delay that 3 hours. It ends up having a huge impact during the whole week. So what we have found from looking at the data is and we were going to put this in a blog post, but I guess I'm ruining it. We still will. So we'll see people that actually sleep in or sleep irregular times on the weekends, particularly people who live in certain cities like New York, Las Vegas, right? Cities that don't sleep. We'll see actually their data on average the whole week looks worse. So it's not just Monday that looks bad.
Slope,
yeah, it's a slippery slope. Your body gets like reset on a different time and you sort of struggle throughout the whole week. By the time you're actually normal again on Friday.
So the solution is stay up to 3 a.m. every day and you'll be better.
Hey, and maybe what's the chronotype for that person, I guess it would be like an hour.
Captain Morgan. It'll be a Captain Morgan
Yeah,
post.
Captain Morgan. There we go. I'm a Captain Morgan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So,
more of a Jack Daniels guy myself.
But no, yeah, we have looked at data sometimes and been like, what happened that day? Like almost like, is the signal quality off? Is there something wrong with the ring?
Right.
I remember seeing someone who got 4 hours of deep sleep last night, and I'm sure we've had others who have. And this guy consistently does get 2. He's an athlete, and he happens to be an elite cyclist, and he finished the Tour de France. And when he finished the Tour de France, it was funny. It wasn't the day after, probably because the day after they're still celebrating. 2 days after, his deep sleep doubled to 4 hours. And it was just like, he
Were you able to ask him what he did?
I mean, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, dude, I just went through the Tour de France. Like, that is
exactly.
grueling. Like, my body is recovering.
Yeah.
But it was just crazy to see that. So,
well, like someone would be after a traumatic event, right? Like if somebody has a massive amount of stress and they're like in this massive state of fight or flight and sympathetic arousal, like say they're at gunpoint or something, or their child is injured or whatever. Yeah. The immediate counter response is always like putting you on your ass.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen breakups, any type of emotional stress. Obviously, if you have a loss of someone or some terrible accident to someone you care about, that puts huge stress. I did used to work in finance, so I do have a lot of friends who like actually it would be like you see a stock drop, you see your portfolio drop the next day, boom, right? You're down 20%. Just imagine you've been working on that the whole year, and it goes, well, that we will see some pretty crazy data changes just on that work stress.
Wow. Very, very cool, man. So one thing that you just brought up that I thought would be good to talk about is variability. Like, so we talked a lot about like how accurate it is and how you guys became accurate. Do you see any massive outliers? Has there been any issues with the ring?
No. I mean, I think because we focus ourselves on precision, like we made sure that night-to-night variability is something that we we see a lot of. But I'm trying to think any issues that are noticeable. We have found for certain types of people that like their rings are either too loose. That can be a little bit of an issue that causes a battery to drain quickly. So we do have some people whose battery, instead of lasting 5 nights, 6 nights, will last 1 or 2. I think that's probably been the biggest technical issue. But again, it's a combination of like sizing. They probably didn't size right, and they might have just a weak pulse signal. We did find certain people that have super high HRV, actually, and we're adjusting this, have gaps in their data. And so that's something that we had to tweak the algorithm to, like if your HRV changes really quickly. So we would just show a gap in the data because we almost think it looks fake. But we have done more extensive testing on some of those people and found that, okay, actually, that's just something we have to adjust the algorithm for. So I think I told you about that. So that a fix should be coming out in like 3 or 4 weeks. But I think that's only affecting like 2 to 3% of people where they'll see gaps. Trying to think other technical issues. I think those are the 2 biggest ones. Right now.
Yeah, so I had somebody who actually trains here who said his ring was showing him as asleep during the day.
Yeah. We found that with athletes.
His heart rate's too low? Or?
His heart rate's too low, and so that they'll actually trick the algorithm into thinking that...
Well, that's probably a good thing, right?
Yeah, but we're actually putting a fix out for that too. We did find that, but that was like sub 1, like half or not even, where we'll see it. And then people will write in and complain about it. So, we get like pretty good data, tracking on any of those bugs. Outside of that, I do think we had one issue in the cloud where like the temperature data on the ring was actually showing differently from the cloud. That's because we have more temperature sensors in Gen 3 and then in Gen 2, sorry. And so already like when we were pulling that data into the cloud, it wasn't sure we didn't appropriately address that, like, hey, pull this one and this one to be comparable versus your data on Gen 1. So that one also a fix coming, but doesn't affect that many people.
Can you share your data from Date with Destiny?
Yeah.
You gonna share it on your Instagram?
Yeah, I'll share. How about this? I'll send it to you.
Right. I'll post it on Instagram.
We'll post on it. Yeah, we'll post
so
it.
Harpreet's off to, is it tomorrow it starts or
Thursday?
Thursday. So 2 more days. He's off to 6 days with Tony Robbins, which I'm envious because I was supposed to be there too, but something else came up.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see your data, man.
I'd be curious to see Tony's data.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely share mine.
You'll be going just as nuts as him, man. Like that. It'll be I'm very curious to see your experience in that.
Yeah. Even we found people that, like we've seen, we haven't published this, but I think others have, that like things like earthquakes. Sometimes you'll see like people sort of have disrupted sleep all that night, and it can be like a low-level type earthquake. So we do think there's other use cases in the future that could be pretty interesting for that, right? Some environmental, definitely, the fires recently in California. So a lot of people actually that it was, obviously something tragic, but like, I did have a lot of people, me living in San Francisco, that have Oura Rings that were like texting me their data saying like, dude, I know I got to get out of SF. My respiratory rate increased, my deep sleep went down, and, they don't have, let's say, the greatest insulation in their homes, and, probably smoke was,
How is everything over there now?
It's actually, I definitely think it's improved a ton. There was finally a 3 nights of rain or 4 nights of rain. So that actually, I think has almost fully put out the fire.
What are you guys doing to grow the business right now? Like, how are you getting into more homes?
Man, trying to do a lot. I think a lot of it we found is just educating people on sleep. Yeah. So frankly, like your audience, like one of my best friends, he's like, I worked with him before when I was on the investing side, and he, workout like fanatic, right? Probably works out 2-3 hours a day, and would do everything he could to adjust his diet and training, right? Mm-hmm. And when I told him, like, hey, did you know that half your testosterone is released when you sleep? At first he was like, yeah, you're crazy.
Hormone.
Yeah. He literally was like, went on first time ever, like, and just bought it. And I've been working on Oura for a couple of years, and he's one of my best friends, and he hasn't done this. But when I told him that, it was, so I think a lot of what we're trying to do to grow the business is honestly just keep spreading the message of sleep and why it's important for you. So for Ethan, sorry, Ethan, I'm using your name now, but he works at a hedge fund. He's a trader, so he needs to be sharp on his feet. So he always got that aspect. But he was like, but even more importantly, you can tell everything outside of work is the gym for him, right? That's where he lets all that stress out. But also, he's just a competitive guy.
Right. But if you're not sleeping, your cortisol is elevated.
Yeah.
So your testosterone is down again. Yeah. So you get a double shot because you're not getting the release while you sleep.
Yep.
Like you're going to impede your ability to
but the average,
function and
the average person doesn't know that, right? So I think to grow right now, just telling people the importance of sleep, because all of us have goals. So normally, let's say, like my goal is to improve at work. Well, and your goal is to, let's say, improve your writing right now. You're coming out with a book, so you want to be as creative as you can be. Telling artists or creative people that, hey, actually getting good sleep is going to help you be better at writing a book. We had actually 2 authors recently just invest in Oura. So Neil Strauss, famous for writing The Game. Yeah. He's actually an investor, and same with Sam Harris, author of Waking Up. Yeah. So I think, we're starting to see these people that have different interests in different professions and what's important to them, and just the education of sleep. So I think a lot of it's probably that. I think the second thing is we need to focus on building a little bit more of a community. So creating something just so people know what Oura is, make it easy to share with people. Maybe it's the Jack Daniels T-shirt, I'm a JD, my chronotype is JD,
right, exactly.
Versus maybe the other one is I'm an Arnold, right? Maybe that's a cool T-shirt. I saw the Arnold picture you have outside in the front of the gym, waking up, success, right? Clapping the chalk. So I think making those kind of building that community and frankly where people can help each other. So not just so it's easily shareable, but dude, I'm really trying to get some gains right now. How are you using your HRV and your deep sleep? What are the things that you did right as a power lifter, right, or Olympic level lifter to go ahead and improve?
So something I wanted to create a movement around sleep. This is probably 18 to 24 months ago, I started writing a different book, and I was like, or at least started writing a layout for a book, because this concept of own the night was a big thing for me, right? It's everyone wants to own the morning, but nobody's paying attention to the night. And I wanted to create a system on how to ultimately own the night. And I was like, we can create a huge community around this. There's a bunch of things I want to do. Obviously, it's a disconnect from what I do now.
Sure.
So if I did it, it would be a subsequent project. I'm giving away all my things now. But ultimately, there's a certain number of things you could do before sleep every night to improve your sleep.
Totally.
And ultimately to ensure that you're going to have successful sleep. And from everything from overcoming anxiety to overcoming the restlessness to overcoming the wake ups. There's some pretty definitive things that work at least 80% of the time, I would say, to get rid of all those things. And, light being the biggest one, right? And we talked about that. Light's the biggest hack. Food is another one. Yep. Exercise is another one. Yeah, all those things are really, really basic and simple, and none of them involve supplements.
Yeah.
And I was just putting together a pretty extensive protocol around like the 5 things I do before bed. And if someone has anxiety, one thing I recommend is journaling before bed and writing down either the things that you have to do tomorrow or the things that you've done today that were positive.
Yeah.
Like the things you've accomplished today. I think that's a big thing, and that's why people can't sleep often is that they're dwelling on the spinning beach ball of death.
Frontal lobe can't shut off, man. Yeah, it just keeps on going all day. Yeah.
So I was heading down that path, but you guys should just create that. It's like create a community around how to own the night, and and then you can quantify that, because owning that is great in concept, but until I can actually validate that it's working, it's a
totally
useless reality, right?
Yeah. No, I think thanks for the insight, and we've been thinking of things similar to that. But
I think I own the URL. You can have it.
You do?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh man! All right, what's the price?
I'll talk about that.
Not in front of the cameras. Damn, I was trying to get the public to help me out. Exactly. I think that would be a really cool thing. But even on the education part, like you just hit on it, right? Through that community, like people who have anxiety. One of the most impressive things to me was like a lot of the meditation apps. A lot of their usage now is actually coming from people who have trouble sleeping, and mainly because of anxiety. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them have created, I think Headspace and Calm recently have created programs for, hey, do we go ahead and actually cater right towards before bed so people can fall asleep and then feel better the next day.
Right.
So I think for us to start thinking of those things depending on who you are, what your persona is.
Right. Do you know what the best hack for meditation for me has been? Other than doing it every day.
Yeah.
It's most people are aiming to not be shitty.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like the person who goes on a diet to not be fat anymore.
Sure.
That's the worst framing in your mind. Like, it's not that I don't want to have anxiety anymore. That's not the way to frame meditation. It's like, how can I be the exact opposite? How can I be the most energetic, light-filled, happy person? Like, literally aim for the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of like, I just don't want to be poor anymore.
Yeah.
Versus I want to be rich.
Yeah,
it's just very
focus on the positive, not on the negative.
Yeah, so most people are focusing on I just don't want anxiety. I want to have my anxiety go away, or I just don't want to be fearful, or I just don't want to have all these negative emotions.
Yeah,
and it's the opposite framing, right? And that's been a big hack for me. Is like as soon as I started framing like trying to fill my heart with light and fill my heart with love and exude love to everyone I come into in contact with, and boom, things changed. My meditation was better. My ability to calm down was better. To be in a meditative state was massively improved. And that's just the simplest thing, right? And that, when you talk about it and frame it around money, people are like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because you don't want to say I don't want to be broke.
Yeah.
You don't want to say I don't want to be fat.
Right.
Like ultimately, you want to be fucking ripped.
Right. Yeah.
Or I want to be fucking rich. Like that's the different framing. And if you can shift your life away from the avoidance of pain and work toward the attainment of pleasure.
Yep.
I think it's a much faster, more enjoyable route.
You know what else I find with that is it's a pull versus a push.
Totally.
So like, I'm pulled to that. Like I want to be that. Like I'm naturally like all of a sudden having positive, thoughts about that. Like I'm being pulled to being ripped and having an 8-pack, right? Like why settle for the 6? Like let's go for the veins. Yeah, I want to be the best, right? I want to blow it out. Yeah. So no, I think that's a really good.
Most people have underlying feelings of inadequacy. So they don't want to, like, nobody ever thinks I should try to be the best because, some people are going to think I have a big ego. No, man, like that's what drives you, right? That's what drove me to be a great bodybuilder.
Yeah. Like
there was nothing else in my mind other than being the best in the world. It wasn't like I felt egocentric. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be better than that person, like for sure.
It's sort of self-fulfilling, right? It builds your own confidence, and then you start feeling better, doing better, wanting to do it more. Actually, Neil Strauss wrote about that, like in The Game. Mm-hmm. Like you saw it just through his depiction of the characters. When people went in to learn how to be, pickup artists, right? Like there were a lot of people who were like, nerds, sat behind desks the whole time, never talked to girls, right? And his like, it's like immerse yourself. No, don't just be like, I want to be better about talking about girls. No, I want to be the center of the room.
You're
right? I want everyone looking at me, right? Like I want to be like the life of the party. And I think the reason maybe why some of those tactics were so successful is because you're right. It puts you in that positive mindset. Right. It doesn't put you at like a defeatist angle. It puts you at the winner's angle, and you're pulled to it,
And if you just want to not be shitty, you're just going to do just enough to get by. And that's never enough to make progress, right?
Yeah.
And just enough to get by is never enough to make. It's just enough to pay your bills, right?
Yep.
It's not enough to actually be extremely successful.
What's that other saying? Shoot for the stars and you hit the moon.
Yeah, totally, man. Dude, Harpreet, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
So grateful to have you on the show, and I think everyone's going to go out and buy an Oura Ring. I told you.
Yeah, we also have a coupon code for the audience.
Hell, look up, man. That's great. Thank you.
So, we're doing $50 off for coupon code. I think we said BPAC or whatever you prefer.
Yeah, sure. Let's do BPAC.
BPAC, $50 off for everyone.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
So I told you, you guys have graciously allowed me to incorporate into my coaching program, which is super cool, which is I'm launching January 1st, a new coaching intake group.
Nice.
So they'll be able to access your Oura data on my platform and my coaches can help to interpret and learn how to manipulate around your limitations. So if you're lacking REM, we'll give you some hacks. And I'm actually writing articles, and I'm sure I'll probably steal some information from your site.
Okay.
How, like, hey, if you have low REM sleep, here's some things you want to consider, right? If you have low deep sleep, here's some things you want to consider. Kind of like it was all framed around that own the night concept.
Yeah.
I had already done it, so I'll just kind of poach it from the content I had before.
Totally.
But yeah, man, I think owning the night is probably the greatest performance aid. It's the greatest cognitive aid. It's the greatest life hack, man. Like when I found out I had a 51-year-old, biology, that was the first thing that I did. Because, dude, I told you for 20 years I didn't sleep. Like I slept 4 or 5 hours a night. So
you were working out a ton.
Yeah, twice a day, sometimes 3. So I was running on caffeine, and I was like, well, and I didn't even take that much caffeine, but obviously it had an impact. So the first thing I started doing was changing my sleep, and I noticed my demeanor changed, my testosterone was different, like everything was different. My ability to focus is completely different. My recovery is completely different. I feel like a different human being. Yeah. And obviously there's a lot of things going on in my life to change, but that was the biggest shift for me. So.
It's insane. I know we already said it at the end of the show, but now, I live in San Francisco, trying to obviously network with a lot of other entrepreneurs. A good friend of mine, starting another business, actually in sort of pain relief. His sleep patterns, he has an Oura Ring, are sort of all over the place. Mm-hmm. He's like, he's having his last coffee at midnight, staying up till 4 a.m. He's like, I got to keep working. And I sat down with him. I was looking at his data, and I was like, dude, you're not going to make it.
Waiting to happen.
Yeah, like you're not going to make it. And I told him, I was like, here are the things you're going to do. Finish your last cup. When do you want to go to bed? He's like, I want to go to bed. Let's call it midnight. I'm like, okay, let's cut off your last cup of coffee. Let's just start, at before noon, right? Let's finish your last meal. Actually, it's 7 p.m. His deep sleep went from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. And he's like walking, he's like literally telling me, I was like, dude, I've never had this much energy. I'm able to finally focus. Mm-hmm. I'm getting more done at work. He's like, it's sort of crazy because he thought he had to do the opposite. He thought he had to own the day instead of owning the night.
No, yeah, everybody's so focused in the morning, right? And if you own the night, then the day will...
it will bring itself to you.
Yeah, you wake up early, you feel great, the energy's there. You don't need the coffee to wake up. Like, what a feeling that is, right? I have caffeine probably 2 to 3 times a week in the morning.
Okay.
The rest of the time I don't, and I don't need it, man. I don't think I feel, for some reason, I don't feel any different when I have the coffee. Like, I don't feel any more energetic. I just feel great, which is, a huge change for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Grateful for your time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Join us on benpakulski.com to learn the cutting-edge techniques to take control of your body, your brain, and create your greatest life.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Ben Pakulski and the producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.